Hey guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. In this video I'm going to be looking at my top 10 games to play on the Atari Edition of the Super Pocket. Without further ado, let's get started with the video. Okay guys, so let's get started. So we'll get 50 games to choose from. It is actually quite a tough choice to choose my top 10 from these. Now everyone's top 10 will probably be completely different. Your go-to games will be massively different to what I've chosen in this video, but I've chosen these games. These are the 10 games that I've enjoyed playing the most, and I would probably recommend starting there. But it's certainly a good mix of games on here, some good, some really good, some probably not so good, but obviously that's just a personal opinion at the end of the day. But anyway, without further ado, let's get stuck in, and I'll start with, in no particular order, I'm not really ranking them, I'm just going to look at 10 games that I would say are my go-to games. The first game I'm going to choose is Save Mary, which is on the 2600. Which I think is actually really good fun. So obviously the idea of the game is you need to save Mary and drag the sort of blocks here by holding down the sort of A button and dropping them down. So basically you're trying to create almost like a ladder for Mary to sort of climb up on, and then thusly save her from drowning. But don't make sure you don't drop the blocks on her head. There are some bonuses to pick up on the side, as you can see down here, and then eventually you can get down, grab Mary, and then take her to safety, and then she'll survive, and then move on. It gets a little bit tougher, as you'd expect with these type of games on the Atari. They just get tougher and tougher. Probably there's no actual end to it, it just keeps on going. But yeah, you do have a time limit obviously because the water is continually rising. And that's basically the idea of that. Pretty good fun, I think it's really good. I would recommend playing it. Okay, next up in my list is Yar's Revenge, also on the 2600. Now, despite the fact that the D-pad isn't great for this, the character can stop sometimes if you press down, which isn't obviously ideal when you're playing through this game, but still, I think it's an absolute classic. I had this on my 2600 back in the day, and it was brilliant. We played this one non-stop. Obviously, that's not how you want to play the game. That was an unexpected start, and sometimes that can happen. It is a little bit random, I think. Which obviously isn't ideal, but this is still a classic, and it's probably would have rated a little bit higher for me if it wasn't for that D-pad, but still a great game that you should really play. Okay, next up, this is number 8. Obviously it's in no particular order. This is Solaris, and this is also on the 2600. Another absolute classic, and one of those games, it's surprisingly got quite a lot of depth for a 2600 game. And I had this one back in the day as well, and wow, it definitely took up a lot of time in our household playing this game. Obviously once you understand what you're supposed to do, you're actually ideally trying to get to Solaris, which is many screens away from this. This is your home where you can refuel your ship, and obviously in each of these ones you need to try and take out these enemies. These enemies will move at some point and then try and take over your home planet, and once that happens the controls then get reversed. Sometimes those enemies are a nightmare, but you can see here our fuel is pretty slowly running out. Which means you probably will have to go back and refuel at some point, which is obviously gets a little bit scary. You need to try and make that sort of grid on your home planet, but look up some of the instructions how to play this game. It's probably is a little bit strange, but once you get to know how to play it, excellent stuff. Oh. Avoid those things, this will take your fuel away, and I'm nearly running out of fuel. This is where it gets a little bit tense, so I need to go back to my sort of home planet, so to speak, or that sun, I'm not sure what it's called, and try and refuel, and also try and keep your ship steady when you're doing the jump there. The more straightforward, if you get it 0-0, you will lose no fuel at all, but obviously the more out you are, oh, there's the fuel, and I've absolutely missed it. nightmare. So I need to go back in and try and refuel again. This is when it gets a little bit tense, when you're obviously running low on fuel. I'll try to keep it steady. Where is it? Oh yeah. There we go. We can refuel. And then we can fight to live another day. What a great game this is. Okay, next up on my list is Food Fight. This is from the 7800. This was also on the Evercade carts. I think most of the games apart from Save Mary have been on Evercade carts so far. And this is a lot of fun. Gets very addictive. So the idea is to get to the other end of the screen and eat that ice cream cone. Avoiding the enemies, you can obviously take them out as well. But yeah, this is probably more like a high score chase, this sort of game. Because eventually it will get pretty tricky. Oh. The character does move pretty slowly. But yeah, what an addictive game. Great fun, and I would highly recommend playing this. Doesn't really look that amazing. It doesn't really look like a 7800 game, to be honest. I think graphically it's probably not the best. It doesn't really show off what that system could probably do, but still, it's all about the gameplay, and it was very addictive. Again, that was probably the D-pad causing me to stop there. It was a little bit troublesome. That D-pad in the Super Pocket is not the best. Okay, next up on my list is another 7800 game. This is Dark Chambers, and this one was only previously available on the VS. If you had 2 copies of Atari Collection 1 and 2 and put them into the VS, you will then unlock this secret game, and it's absolutely fantastic. Obviously we have the 2600 version on an Evercade cart, but I think this is probably the first time I can play this on a handheld, and it really works brilliant on the Super Pocket. It's very addictive. It does basically keep on going. It does feel like it just keeps on going and going and going, but very addictive stuff, and I've really enjoyed playing through this. I've got quite far into it, and it's been a lot of fun. It's obviously very much like Gauntlet. If you remember playing that game and other games like it, it does play pretty similar to those games, but it's a lot of fun, really good. If you love Gauntlet, then you're definitely going to enjoy this game. No doubt some of the later levels get pretty tricky. You're more or less trying to find the key, to find the exit, to open doors, to try and get to the next sort of level and keep on going. But yeah, graphically it doesn't change an awful lot through the game. There's some changes, same sort of enemies all the time, but still, it's good fun. And definitely one of those games that's perfect for the Super Pocket, as I said. It just seems to work very well on the Pocket. Also the D-pad isn't particularly great, but I haven't noticed any massive issues that stopped it from being playable. Not sure how many levels there actually is in the game. It just seems to basically keep on going. I'm pretty sure it will most likely go up to Z, and then you'll probably be able to finish the game with one of those congratulations screens that, yeah, you've done it. So satisfying, but completely unfulfilling. And I have no idea where I'm going here. Okay, we're into the top 5. Obviously they're not really ranked in any particular order, but this is number 5. This is Minor 2049er. This is on the 5200, and not a game previously seen on Evercade. And now it was probably between this game and the Bob Strikes Back, but I probably thought this game was more enjoyable, or maybe not quite as tough, although they are pretty similar games. Now the idea is to try and stand on all the platforms here, colour them in, avoid the enemies. Now you can jump on the enemies once you've activated or got that, whatever it is, some kind of pick 'em up. It gives you the ability to then take out the enemies, but it is very limited. You see they were flashing there, but once they stop flashing you can't actually obviously kill them, so to speak. But just be careful, don't fall too far from heights, don't obviously make a dodgy jump or you will completely game over and you'll have to start all over again, which is a bit of a pain. But I thought, once I get stuck into it and understood it, I found this game really addictive, really enjoyable. Yeah, but the later levels do get pretty tricky and frustrating, and at times it almost seems impossible to actually complete the levels. Now this is where things get very, very tricky. You've got some slides that if you stand on them, you'll basically fall all the way down the level, and you're also against the clock, which I didn't really realise either. You are constantly against the clock. You see at the top sort of centre of the screen, there is a sort of a countdown happening all the time. And if that runs out, which is very, very possible, you will also game over. And if obviously you miss jump, you will probably die as well and have to restart. You have only got three lives, I think, 2 or 3 lives, and then that will be game over. But still, I thought this game was really addictive once you understand it and get used to the sort of mechanics. I think it's excellent stuff. Again, I'm not really sure if it's better than Bob Strikes Back. I thought Bob Strikes Back was probably a lot tougher than this, especially initially. I felt like it was just too hard too quickly. But eventually I did make progress through past the first few sort of stages, but it is very frustrating. You see, you just slide down right to the start, which is an absolute pain in the butt. Okay, next up it's Berserk, and now it's probably a close-up between this and Frenzy, because they do feel like very similar games, and this is the arcade version of this game. Now the idea is to try and escape each level here and get to the sort of gaps, basically the openings to the next stage. You can try and take out all the enemies you can see on the screen there, but it's probably not ideal. You're probably just best trying to get to the exit and make progress. And don't touch the edges either, because you will die, have to restart. I do love the sound effects in this game. It's really, really cool. You see, don't touch the sides or touch any of the enemies, you will die instantly. If you take too long on the screen, there's a sort of robot will come on and try and take you out. There you see it was coming there. And they are practically indestructible, so you really have to leg it and get to the next stage before it touches you. As I say, it is an arcade game, so it is very, very tough, but it's still a lot of fun. Definitely one of those games that's great for a quick play, especially if you're sitting on the bus or the train or something. It's ideal for that. Okay, next up it is Fatal Run. This is from the 78800. And I actually quite enjoyed playing this game. It does initially feel like there's not an awful lot of point to it, but basically you're trying to, I guess, try to get to the end of the stage. It does eventually end. There's a few different weapons and stuff you can cycle through by pressing the B button. You've got fuel as well that you need to keep an eye on. You might run out. You can buy more at the end of the sort of stage. There's oil you can put on behind you. There's I don't know whether that's a shield or something. You've obviously got some guns as well, but be careful, you do run out eventually. But yeah, it's pretty good. It does seem a little bit aimless at times. You're just trying to stay alive as long as possible. There are enemies that will come on the screen. You can try and fire and take them out. But this reminded me of a game on C64 called Turbocharge, where you could actually fire at the other cars as well. That was on System. That was by System 3. It would be really nice if we got a System 3 collection at some point. But I guess that will probably not happen on Evercade. We can but hope. Also be careful, your car does take damage as well. You can see on the car in the bottom sort of right middle. It does take damage. So do need to be careful there, you don't ram too many cars. You'll eventually obviously game over if that does happen. And there we go, eventually we do reach the end of that stage. I'm not really sure if there's an indication at the bottom of the screen that tells you that, but yeah. Bit of a strange one, but still it was quite enjoyable to actually play. I'm not sure what's going on there with a live perished bonus. Maybe I need to check up the background to this game and what this actually means. But yeah, pretty cool game. As I said, you can then upgrade your weapons, add more fuel, that type of thing, and the shop here, then move on to the next stage. But yeah, I would recommend it, have a look at it, it's certainly pretty good fun to play. Okay guys, so down to the last two. This is Turbo Sub on the Atari Lynx. Entirely new sort of game for me that I'd never actually played before, and it's actually really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed playing it. So first off, you actually have to destroy all the ships above the surface, obviously avoiding the fire as well, and eventually the screen will tell you to dive, and then you take out some enemies under the sea as well, which adds a nice sort of layer to the game, and which is pretty cool. So no doubt it is a tough game, especially when you go under the sort of sea here. It's almost impossible to avoid hitting those pillars and trying to collect as many gems as you possibly can, and obviously destroy the enemies that you see. Not sure what the gems signify. Oh, but thankfully you get plenty of lives because you definitely need them. Then you can somehow go to the next level. Futuristic stuff there. Pretty cool stuff. I would recommend it. It's very, very cool. It would be nice to see some of these games on Evercade carts at some point. I'm pretty sure it will happen eventually, but fingers crossed. There's some really nice games that's on this sort of Atari Edition that's not on Evercade, which probably makes this even more desirable. Okay guys, so final game. This is also on the Atari links. This is Warbirds, which I think is absolutely fantastic and great for a quick bash on your Super Pocket. I'm not really sure if this was based on another game, like an Amiga game called, I think it was called Wings. They do seem pretty similar. I may be completely wrong. But yeah, there's a lot of different settings you can choose. You can choose unlimited sort of ammo, unlimited damage, no collisions, 1 life, dueling start, flight simulator. So there's lots of different options to choose from. Probably the game itself is pretty basic. You're really just in dogfights against different types of enemies, and these are the different sort of difficulty levels almost to choose from. So the first one, you're one-on-one with another sort of pilot, trying to take them out, and then it gets more and more difficult. Maybe you fight against 2 sort of guys, then the difficulty gets a little bit higher and you get more and more till you get to the end, and you just basically get enemy after enemy at you till you try and survive and win at the end of the day. But yeah, the dogfighting is very, very cool. You can look behind you, press the B button, but the idea is basically try to take out all the enemies that you see and basically try and stay alive. Yeah, controls great. The D-pad works absolutely fine in this game. It works fantastically well, and as you can see graphically, it is very, very cool. I find myself sort of tilting my head back and forth as I'm sort of manoeuvring the plane left and right. Old school gamer there. But the dogfighting is so much fun. I wouldn't say the game was overly difficult, so it's really just all about having a little bit of fun, trying to outlast the enemies, take them out and destroy them. Anyway guys, that's the end of the video. That's my top 10 picks to play on your Atari Super Pocket. Let me know what your top 10 games are. I'm pretty sure everyone sort of purchasing the Super Pocket Atari Edition will have very different choices. There are 50 games to choose from after all. But anyway guys, thank you for watching. We'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.